Hello everybody, this is Gary.
And this is Brian.
We're from Spartan Cycle in Clinton Township, Michigan. Today we're coming at you with live stream. We got a bunch of stuff to talk about. The riding season is coming upon us, ain't it, B?
Any minute now.
Yeah.
Weather's gonna break.
So you always want to think about what should I get done to my bike? Everybody's going to be behind the eight ball, and there's some service that probably needs to get done on your motorcycle, at least before April or May hits. I mean, there's got to be a few things. What do you normally look at on your bike, Brian?
Yeah, first and foremost, condition of your tires, right? They always get worn and people let them slide.
Yeah.
A little bit of a bill getting them done, but honestly, we probably got some of the most competitive prices on tires in town. So
We do.
definitely come see us if you're thinking you need a set.
Yeah, a lot of little things that kind of just slip your mind, clutch adjustments, maybe check your brakes. A lot of people don't like to check the fluids. I mean, you've got oil, that's obvious, but brake fluid, if your bike's liquid cooled, you may need coolant. If it's a hydraulic clutch, that clutch may have never been changed, the fluid on it, and that stuff definitely adds to the performance degrade of your bike. So those are all little things that you want to think about before you get ready for the riding season. And we're certainly ready for it. We still got some openings, but we're starting to pick up. So you want to call our service manager, Chuck, and schedule some of that stuff just before you get ready to ride. We got some deals going on too still, don't we, B?
Definitely. New bike deals and used bike deals. Yeah, we're still a little bit in the winter as we're trailing out, but plenty of bikes. The inventory is large, so selection is still good. Wait another month and that'll
How much
change.
did I give that dude for that no good bike? Remember, it was worth almost nothing. And what did he get when he traded it in on a Roadmaster?
Too much.
He got too
much.
He got $2,000 too much. We've got trade bonus that's $2,000, so you could literally bring me any bike that qualifies, and it could be a zero, something that I want to take to the junkyard, and I'll give you $2,000 for it, just to give you an idea of how much we're paying for trades right now. If you got clean trades, we'd really like to get some of those in right now. My used inventory is pretty high, but we've been selling quite a few used lately, and I could use a few spots. So, like I say, I've paid $2,000 too much for a couple bikes. So the deals are here on the trade-ins. You got to trade in and you want to buy a new Indian, we got some trade bonus that we can work out and get you some good money for a down payment on a new Indian. That's one of the big deals we got. Finance is pretty good too right now on Scouts.
Financing is good. Yeah, rates are stagnant. They haven't raised rates as far as financing goes.
Yeah.
Banks are in line. They're ready to lend. So that's eased up a bit.
Yeah. Didn't they extend that again for Scouts?
They did, yep. Scouts, and actually for the 18s and 19s, you've got incentivized rates as low as 1.9%, which is almost nothing as far as interest
that's almost
goes.
free money at 1.9%. And we've got several bikes left here that still qualify under the 18, and the promos even rolled into some of the 19s.
Right.
So you want to call us here or call Brian and see specifically on what bike you're looking for, and we can see what kind of finance program we could get you into on something like that. And new riding gear.
New riding gear, right? Stuff's looking a little old, looking a little tattered. You might want a new leather, a new set of gloves, right?
I've been known to buy a couple leathers, although I'm shy on helmets, and we got.
You
really
better
good.
hurry. Gary's cleaning us out.
We got some really good deals on P&A here. We got 20% off.
Producers note Gary's a clothes horse for motorcycle jackets.
Yeah,
so.
I'm a clothes horse for jackets. But let me tell you a little quick story. It's been about 2 years now, but someone needed to ride a bike, didn't have a helmet. I said, I let them borrow my helmet. And then I started thinking retrospect, man, when did I get that helmet? I should get me a new helmet. That helmet I bought with my first Sportster almost 30 years ago. So if you're lucky enough, you get to use that when you have the excuse you didn't bring your helmet. I got that underneath the counter. You can borrow it anytime. So
The helmet of shame.
The helmet of shame. Yeah, I finally broke down and bought myself a new helmet since then. But jackets I've been known to stack up high. And we've got jackets anywhere from mild to wild here. We go anywhere from $249 plus the discount. We're running percentages off of that on up to close to $500 for a jacket. So we've got a wide variety of selection from the Indian brand to even the American-made Hillside stuff that we have is
Nice stuff.
really high quality. You won't find a better jacket lying on the shelf anywhere. I've been in and out of a lot of motorcycle stores, and no one's going to have a better jacket than that Hillside. I'm not saying there aren't better ones made, but you won't find it hanging on anybody's shelf. These are super high quality, very heavy stitching, and very nicely put together American-made jackets, and those are all 20% off right now too for in stock. I've got quite a few regular sizes, and for you big guys, I'm sitting a little heavy on some of the big sizes. So if you're a big guy, I've probably got you covered in that American-made jacket.
So what are you guys leaning on there? We'll talk about those.
Well, Brian, why don't you tell them a little bit about these particular paint jobs that
Yeah,
you won't find online?
No, you won't find them online. You won't find them advertised on the websites, at least not Indian specific. But we have a few actually, and never really stocked up on them before, but they've been made available to us. They're called the Icon series from Indian. Custom paint shop basically is what this is. Not likely to see another one of these hanging around at bike night. They just are not well known.
Right.
But they got the really, really fantastic color combinations and well, the fit and finish on the Indian's already fantastic, but when you throw in custom colors, you really stand out in the crowd.
Yeah, this black and yellow is really pretty eye-catching, and you'll notice that they've switched up a bit this year, and now you've got the black leather with the fringe. Typically our vintages always had tan leather. I think we had one bike prior with the black last year, which was a silver and black, but they don't typically offer it with the black leather. There have been customers that want the black leather, although my preference is the tan, but there are those folks that want a more subtle look, and we've got the black leather with fringe in we call it the Pittsburgh Steeler bike, although it's really more of a pastel when you get in here and look at it. Another paint job you won't find online, and this one in a burnished bronze, and I believe they call that Dirt Track Smoke.
Right.
And that is gorgeous. We were just commenting on how nice the tan leather is on that seat. Nice soft feel to the tan leather, which is my favorite. So here's a bike that you're probably not going to park next to another one, and I don't care how far around the country you travel. They don't make these in high volume numbers, and Indian's still up and coming, so you don't see those on every street corner as it is like some of the other bikes. So to park yourself next to another one of these icon colors, probably not going to happen. Everybody likes to have something that's different from somebody else's, so we can get more of these if you're interested in them, and there's more availability on some of the other models. So if you think that's something you want to dig into, give us a call. We'll go through some of the colors with you and the options on what bikes do have icon colors available, because it's not available on every bike, but there are available on the cheap vintage and certainly the Chieftain.
And out of view, we've got a couple others. We've got Roadmasters here in the building if you want to come in, check out the colors. We do have color swatches on all the bikes.
Yep.
If you're curious, it's really the only way to see the colors. Like I said, they're not advertised online.
Yeah. Still got some specials going on for the Indian guys out there that want a little bit more power. We've installed a big bore kit or two now, so we've got quite a few of them under our belt, got them down pat, and they produce a lot more power than a stock bike. And I've got a couple kits left that we can do at $34.95 installed. Call for details on that, and Chuck can go through the details of what that entails, and if need be, we can pick up your bike and drop it back off for you. That's something that we've been doing quite a few more than I anticipated. I always thought they had plenty of power, but there's always that guy who wants more, and the big bore kits definitely deliver on that. And we're at a smoking deal because the kit's almost $3,000, and we're installing them for roughly $3,500.
Right.
So we got a kit or two left. If you want to take advantage of that, definitely give us a call while we still have a kit or two at that sale price.
I'm going to field some of my own questions because so far we don't have any questions in yet. So producer Mike's going to throw some at you, mostly related to the topic. You guys can come forward if you want to, hang out. It's after hours, you know.
Oh yeah, it is after hours.
So question number one, because the topic for the night is going to be like, you know, getting your bike ready for the riding season. Now, obviously, you know, if a customer wants to buy a bike, you go to the bike dealer, right? And you're already talking about trade-ins and stuff like that. But what would be some of the things that you'd want to look at other than like the blatantly obvious, like if the tire's flat, obviously when you walk up to the bike, that's a problem, right?
You know, for me, I always want original motorcycles. I'm not saying you can't have some bolt-on parts, but the paint is imperative when I go to resell a bike. So the condition of the paint, and is it original paint? The first
Well, no, I don't mean trade-in. What I'm talking about is like, okay, so your Joe Lunchbox goes out to his garage, he hasn't seen his bike in 4 months, right?
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
general appearance and condition is a lot. If the bike is going to need service, that's fine, because everything we have in the trade-in and that goes into our used inventory is going to go through service anyway. They'll all be fluid and filter changed. They'll all be road tested. So we can see past that stuff, but as Gary was talking about, possibly original condition of the bikes. You don't necessarily have to be afraid because your bike is out of the ordinary. You got bolt-on equipment. That doesn't necessarily mean stock equipment, but that doesn't mean there'll be a devalue to the bike as far as trade-in. But condition of the bike, like you said, even if the bike isn't running, if the bike needs service, we're more than willing to come pick up a bike for a trade,
right?
If necessary, to get a deal done and deliver the new bike if you need that as well. So. I don't know, a little bit of anything and everything. If the bike is serviceable and we can get it on the road and get it to a customer who's looking for something inexpensive and really just trying to get back on the road, or first-time riders, that's important too. So it doesn't have to be a $20,000 trade-in that needs to be in primo condition.
So even though our parts guy isn't here tonight, some of the things you might want to consider would be tires, battery.
Because tires for service for somebody's bike.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a lot of things, a lot of little things get neglected over the years that I see. Throttle cables, after a while they get old. Now a lot of our stuff is fly-by-wire now, but a lot of motorcycles still have throttle cables on them, and they're probably the original throttle cable. You'd hate to have that break somewhere in the middle of Oklahoma. So they may need anything from replacement to simple lubrication.
Yeah, simple
wheel bearings, it's hard to tell if a wheel bearing's going out, but if we get it up on a hoist, we can spin it. Sometimes we can hear something there.
Headstock bearings too.
Head neck bearings, that was my next thing. You get the bike up in the air, and it's one simple thing that a lot of people neglect, and they don't tend to check. They don't request that it be checked. It comes in for maybe a $5,000, and it's not really due to be checked until maybe $10,000 or $15,000, depending on the bike. And it may go from shop to shop and get overlooked, and that's very critical when it comes to the handling of your motorcycle.
Yeah, because Spartan services all makes and models, correct?
We do service all makes and models, yeah.
Because a lot of people may not understand that they can bring their Harley or a Kawasaki or a Yamaha in here and get it serviced.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I mean, you guys can get all parts for all makes and models.
Sure.
Also.
We may sell new Indians as a dealership, but we service all makes and models, and we've got plenty of experience with just about everything out there.
Because
so
tonight's main topic was about that. I mean, obviously, if they're looking, everybody wants new bike day, right? That's the best time.
Sure,
right.
It's big shiny, but you may still have your old ride for at least one more season, or this is the last season for it. So
or a bike that you hadn't ridden in a while, but you want it serviceable,
right?
Because it's not necessarily something that you're looking to get rid of.
Right.
Absolutely. Have us check it out.
Another commonly overlooked things are valve lashes. Now, a lot of the bikes are hydraulic lifters, but certainly not all of them. There's a good half of the motorcycles require valve adjustments, and a lot of people don't do it, and then they wonder why their fuel economy's fallen off, or maybe performance has fallen off, and their carbs are a little bit dirty and out of sync, and valves not lashed properly, and overall performance might still seem to run fine, but it's not fine, right? Like a fine run of sewing machine. It's got a little lax here and there, and that doesn't pull the MPG that you thought it should or that it used to. All these little things stack up, so it could be anything from a valve adjustment to carb sinks.
These are the things that your customers are going to have to look at, because it always happens. The first 2 or 3 days in Michigan where it's warm and it's nice out, everyone jumps on their bike, and then that's when they realize, oh crap,
it's not running like
it's not.
Yeah.
And then service gets real busy real fast, right?
Sure. And we're prepared for that. That happens every year, no doubt about it. If you get the jump on the next guy, though, all the better for you to get in here.
Now's
a
the
decent
time.
timeline, and right when the weather does break, you're ready to roll, and the next guy is scratching his head.
Yeah, a couple other simple things is just to check the entire tire. It's easy to walk out in the garage, look at your tires, and say, well, they're 3 years old, I haven't put that many miles on them. You look at the tread, it still looks good. Well, you're looking at about a third or even a quarter or maybe even a tenth of your tire tread, because the fender's covering up the rest of it and it's all in the back, and there could be a nail or a screw in it. and a thorough inspection of the tire is really.
Yeah, even small checking or dry rot that happens for a bike that's sat too long.
And we've caught that a bunch of times where we'll tell a customer and, you know, give them the sad news, sir, you're gonna need a new tire. I just put tires on that bike last summer. Well, I'm sure you did, but you probably didn't put the nail in the back tire, and
Not intentionally.
You've got a nail in the back of your tire, and I can't plug that. You're going to have to replace it.
Sometimes headstock bearings are out of adjustment, or they're worn, will cause that front tire to wear out of round.
Yeah, and that's
and
the
you
other
get
thing.
death wobble out of the steering head on it. You know.
Yeah.
Your tire may look good, but when you look at the profile, it may be, you know, one side might be flatter than the other.
Or they're very common that the center of the front tire gets flat, and then it feels like it's tippy. You know, it'll feel like it's very tippy because that very center of the tire, that little 3/4 of an inch or so, is kind of flattened out. And the minute you go at low speeds to turn the bike over, it feels like it wants to flop over on you. So those are all little things that you should look at before you get ready for the riding season, and we're ready for you. So call us, and we'll get your bikes picked up, or you can drop them off, and we can get that bike thoroughly looked at so it's ready for the season.
Got
in the
oil,
meantime,
oil changes too.
Well, sure, simple oil changes.
Well, because, like, you know, unique to our area of the country, you absorb a lot of moisture over the winter because the bike's not running.
Sure, and even if you may have, you know, near the end of last season, replaced the oil with fresh oil, assuming it's okay, like you say, we get condensation in the motors, you'll get some water and separation in the oil. You know, it's the lifeblood of the bike, just like anything mechanic.
Cheap insurance,
make sure the lubrication is up to snuff, and it'll keep you on the road.
Especially on the short trips. You get a lot of people, they go out in the garage, they want to hear their motorcycle run, but it's not necessarily the best for it to fire it up for a minute or two and shut it off, because all you're doing is building condensation.
About how long, if people did that, how long do you think that they should let it run?
You'll be surprised. You probably should run it longer than you would think. The oil needs to come up to full temperature.
If you want to get the bike to
it's got to boil out the water.
So oil full temp is around 240, 220, 240, 260. I mean, 220 would be, you know, the low operating side. 180 is kind of still on the cold side. So you want it to get to 220. It can go up to 260, although that would be beyond what you need it to dissipate the moisture. And if you don't have a gauge, you're probably looking at about 15 to 20 minutes of running time, and you might even have to run it above idle in the winter conditions to try to get that bike to get to 220 on the oil. Yeah, because I could ride my bike on an average fall day for 10 minutes, you know, and that's running at 3,000 RPMs down the road, and it takes it 10-15 minutes for the oil to come up to 10.
Right, that's different.
That's running
idle in your.
That's different than idling in your garage at 32 degrees. So it could certainly take a little bit longer than that. So if you're going to run your bike, make sure that you get your oil hot and get the moisture dissipated out of that.
Things like batteries. About how often do you think batteries, like traditional, not like an AGM, like a gas mat battery, but like a lead acid typical motorcycle battery.
Typical.
About how many years?
It's a wide array.
3 to 5 years is typical.
Depends on the bike.
That's if you're running it on some kind of battery tender, right? If it's just left to its own devices over the winter, it could die in a year.
Not to mention,
it could be months, or it could be
some of the newer bikes. I mean, you get some of the older bikes, they can tolerate sitting a little bit better. These new bikes, they got more memory than Isaac Newton. They're constantly feeding some type of module, and they're always drawing quite a bit of energy from the battery. If you've got a modern bike, especially like our Roadmasters or the Harley Elites and Gold Wings, you name it, there's tons of modules and different things that have memory, and they're always feeding off the battery. Those bikes need to stay plugged in, period, because you can't let those sit more than a couple weeks, and they're going to be dead, even in the summertime.
Yeah, for batteries, maintenance is not just an off-season thing. Maintaining it in the in-season while riding, get in the habit of plugging it into a tender. Every time you come home, park the bike in the garage, you step off of it, plug it into the tender, maintain the battery. That'll save you a nice chunk of change every so often. And they're getting smaller but more expensive every year. And with all the electronics on the bikes, there's always a small draw that's going to bring that down.
Yeah. So you been doing any fun, B? Trips, motorcycle trips.
No.
Yeah, speaking
took
of
a
like
motorcycle-
speaking
I
of the
took a motorcycle
rotors,
trip to Chicago, I seem to see you.
Yeah,
you
the
went with
motorcycle
us.
show was
We didn't
fantastic.
ride, but
we didn't ride. We
that
rode the
was-
train.
We rode
Yeah.
the train.
It was a good time.
Yeah, Chicago was a whole lot of fun. I think I mainly went there to see two bikes, the FTR and the Royal Enfield. And
I liked seeing them all, but there was two that piqued our interest and that held the most
Yeah.
most interest for us was the FTR and the Enfield Twin.
Yeah, and actually both those displays consistently were packed with people sitting on the bikes and
No
talking
doubt.
about them.
Get in line.
well, specifically because I was there with you guys, producer Mike here. You guys sat on both bikes, right? The twins, the Interceptor 650
Sure.
and a Continental 650, and you sat on the FTRs. What's your honest opinion? What did you guys like about them? I mean, what you've seen them in the flesh now. It's not just a TV ad anymore, right? It's not just something you watched on YouTube somewhere.
Without having taken the bike down the road, either one of them, the Royal Enfield or the Indian, not a whole lot to dislike yet, but a whole lot to like.
Yeah.
Finally being able to put our hands on the bike and check rider's triangle, seating position, peg position, and how the bike feels underneath me was a welcome change because it was all an unknown, at least for
Right.
the FTR until
And the
we'd
fit
seen
and
them in
finish is
person.
really nice.
Supremely impressed.
Yeah.
They were everything that I did expect. Again, no road test yet, but well, that's sure to wow, right? It's for all the way the ergos were on the bike and everything the performance has set to offer. I don't see it be anything less than a riot, honestly.
Yeah, I think the Indian, to me, I mean, you could read the specs and look at the specs, but until you look at it, it's a little bit bigger bike, I think, than a lot of people are going to think.
A little bit
because
bigger and a little
they
bit
come
more
in and they
weight
look
to
at the
it.
race bike and they think, oh, it's going to be just like that. But that race bike is pretty tiny. The street
Not something
bike,
you'd want to road
the
go
street
for very
bike,
long.
while
no.
it's not huge, it's got a pretty decent sized presence to it. It's a 60-inch wheelbase and it's not a huge bike. But it seems like it's just a little bit bigger than I thought, which I think is going to be nice in the long run. Because if someone buys the bike,
We're
and they
talking the
wanna do
FTR now, right?
Yeah, I'm talking about the FTR.
Indian.
I think they're going to be pleasantly surprised at how comfortable it is to sit on,
Yeah,
and
agreed.
how nice it's going to be to actually run down the road for hours at a time. It's not a tiny little cramped bike, and the fit and finish, like we say, it's as nice as all my other Indians, which is to say super high quality, very
I
very
think that's
good looking
a
bike.
big part of it is that how folks were they were geared toward the bike being an urban assault city bike only. It's certainly not that, and hence the reason the motorcycle has cruise control. I think you can actually do some decent touring on the bike,
Yeah.
outfitted correctly. You'd be plenty comfortable for
they
miles.
they showed all the different setups, you know, the rally, the tour, the sport. They had them all there, all in the different guises, if you will. And the touring one, it's for me, I'm 5'10". It's a comfortable bike to sit on. My legs are right, the bars are right. It's got a decent windshield. I could actually back road that bike all day long.
Certainly.
Now, is it an interstate roadmaster? Certainly not, but you could run down the interstate with that bike and it would be decent. But that being said, I could probably ride that bike on 2-lane back roads literally all day and put 300-400 miles on it.
It's a
not
canyon
that high.
carver.
Yeah, it's a canyon carver that you could sit on comfortably all day.
It's made for
And-
the dragon, right?
Yeah, made for the dragon.
No problem.
Made for the dragon. The other big surprise was the Enfield display. Those bikes.
That company, period. They
That company's going to take this country
pretty much
by
by
the
motorcycle
throat.
store.
I think they're going to take them by the throat and say, "Hey, if you don't got,
They have big aspirations,
Yeah.
and they're beginning to meet
if
that.
you don't have 20 grand to spend on a bike, you're looking to spend $6,000, $7,000, $8,000, and want something cool." These bikes reek of cool. They are super cool. They're fun to sit on. It just seems like you're bringing the fun back into motorcycling. It's just the essence of motorcycling. It's a simple British parallel twin, very light, very unpretentious. Anybody could get on that bike and sit on it and not be intimidated. And they're easy to buy. They're very affordable. And the fit and finish, I'm not going to lead you to believe it's Indian-like, but boy, it's a whole lot more than $6,000 would assume.
And yeah,
I mean, the
and
bikes are
leaps and bounds
$6,000,
above what
and
they
it is-
were 10 years ago.
It is a very nice looking bike. Which one was your favorite?
Continental GT.
I knew he was going to say that. He's been talking about that bike for a year now.
It's sporting enough, but comfortable enough and substantial. The single was, call it fun, right. In essence. It was fun, and plenty of nostalgia cool to it. But the twin brings actual performance to that bike.
The interesting thing on that Continental GT is that even though it's a cafe racer style bike, you sit on it more like a standard. So you're not super cramped up.
It's pretty upright. I'm not that leaned over on the bike. And like Gary said, the fit and finish, of course, it's not Indian-like. That's about the epitome of it. But at that price point, I wouldn't expect it. But I'll tell you what, I certainly would expect less than they gave.
It's way better. It's way better than what you would expect. I mean, you expect the $6,000 bike to look like it's made from, no offense, China, and cheesy looking. It is not a cheesy looking bike. It'll rival many of the Japanese bikes as far as fit and finish and quality at that price point, and dare I say even a little bit better.
Well, inevitably you'll draw a comparison to the CBs, right?
For a lot less money, the performance isn't going to be quite the same as a CB.
Well, I mean, like the classic ones I'm talking about, like, you could either fight restoring a classic, CB 450 or CB 750, or you can get yourself into one of the new Royal Enfield twins.
Yeah, so far we've seen a lot of customers coming in that are probably been motorcycling for quite some time, and they are dying to see these bikes because they all rode Triumphs or Matchless or BSAs, or maybe they even had a Royal Enfield back in the 60s or 70s. And this is like looking through rose-colored glasses, like you remember your Triumph used to be, but it really wasn't, right? This performs like you remember your Triumph performing.
It won't have a big puddle of oil underneath it.
You can walk out to the bike and start
you
the
forgot
bike
that the carbs leaked and you had to start it down the hill and it wouldn't start, and kick. The frames have come a long way. The suspension's come a long way. Brakes have come a long way. These bikes outperform, obviously, the 60s bikes that they're imitating by a large margin.
Right. Man, the sound is there. 270 crank on both.
Yeah, the feel of the bike, the nostalgic feel and the retro cool is certainly there. But like you say, now you have a modern running, electronically fuel injected ABS brake, what you need and what you want on the road today, where you used to, that still has all that cool factor. And you're talking about under $7,000.
Yeah,
unheard of.
Yeah, I mean, MSRP starting at $58.99 for the Interceptor 650. That's one cool bike for $6,000.
You had talked before, Gary, about the trade-up kind of program that Spartan was doing to compete with some of the other, other brands, dealerships, so to speak. So someone had just came off their MSF course, right? They were looking to buy into like their next level bike. I believe you were discussing at one point about a trade-up program.
We do a guaranteed buyback, and it's always going to be on a select model bikes. It's got to be the right bike for the customer, and it's got to be the right bike for me to take back in at the price you paid. And currently I have at least 2 bikes on the floor. Depending on your ability, you can buy that bike, and they're usually pretty cheap, under $4,000, $2,500 to $4,000, depending on the model. And if you trade it in on a new Indian, I'll give you your money back. And you can call me or Brian for details on that program. I still currently have 2 bikes that are available for that. So if you're new to riding and don't want to bite too much off, but you want to get into an Indian eventually, or maybe you're just coming back and you can handle, you just want to see if you want to get back into it. You don't want to spend a lot of money just yet.
And all those bikes are serviced and ready to go.
As usual, they're
as
all
opposed
serviced.
to like buying something that's unknown off of Craigslist, right? That you don't know what's up with.
And that's the other chance you take, right? There's plenty of inexpensive motorcycles out there that are going to need a whole lot of care and attention, and you may not be ready for that. You may be ready for just cutting your teeth on some experience and getting into it.
Yeah.
Not even for competitive reasons, really just to, raise interest in the sport. Get folks who weren't necessarily ready for something like that into it, and then your skills graduate quickly. Come see us for a trade-on. Curious about a Himalayan performance. Looks like it would eat dirt pretty nice. I don't have a whole lot of experience on the Himalayan in the dirt, but I'll tell you it handles the road pretty well.
One of y'all got one of those, one of the demo ones you already sold pretty dirty. Somebody was riding
We
it.
sold completely out of the 2018, so nothing wrong with getting it dirty. It'll handle light duty off road very well. Long travel front and rear, and get you just fine.
I'd say the performance is adequate for an average rider. If you're coming off a
well, I think
high performance dirt bike and expecting to do some doubles on
this
bike,
this
is not your motorcycle.
That's what I was going to say. You got to understand the difference between an adventure bike and a dirt bike.
You know,
that's
for the casual rider who wants to do some adventure riding, get in the sand, get in the dirt, get a little money, and have power to get you through that mud pile and up the hill, it's going to do that. It's got nice long suspension. It actually travels and eats up bumps really nicely. It's not a high performance. You're not going to go beat up on any KTM, 690 Adventurers anytime soon. That being said, most of those bikes are beyond the capability of the average guy, even myself included. I don't do a lot of off-roading. I think that bike would be more than enough for what I would want, and I've got 30 years riding down the street. I'm not going to start jumping a 420 or 30-pound dirt bike.
Yeah.
I think it'd be fine for someone who's got average capabilities or not expecting high-performance motorcycle capabilities out of the Himalayan. It's going to be just great.
It's great as a camping buddy or just getting into adventure riding.
This is true, yeah.
A
camping
lot of
motorcycle, 2-track, off the beaten path. It's going to shine very well for what most folks are hoping it will do.
Yeah. A lot of people see the people riding the GSs off road.
Yeah, like he's talking about back roads, north of metro area.
Perfect.
Absolutely,
that's perfect.
Yeah, that's what it's made for.
Even quite a bit rougher than that. You could get it into some dirt and mud and up and down some.
Oh yeah, I mean,
consider it about like a 2-wheel Jeep.
Sure, absolutely.
You look at the testing that Royal Enfield has done on these bikes for the past couple of years. They've been beating the living hell out of them.
They run these bikes literally up the Himalayas on a regular basis. It's an excellent trip.
They're very durable. They're very simple, and if you have something that you broke because you fell over and hit a rock, it's going to be something you can figure out and get yourself back home on, because they're not really very complicated.
So the key word, fell over.
Fell over.
Try to pick up a BMW GS when it falls over by yourself in the middle of nowhere.
You'll get it up eventually because you got to get home, but it's not going to be an easy task.
I think it'd be a great bike.
The Himalayan is no problem whatsoever.
Yeah, to go on the back roads and try to stay off of pavement, it'd be a great bike. Even in a little bit of dirty, roughy, muddy situations, you're going to be just fine.
And again, not to beat a point too hard, but sub 5,000.
Yeah,
it's a bargain.
Yeah,
no doubt.
That's quickly going to be one of our best-selling Enfields at the moment.
What's our slogan? You'll save enough money that you can actually have enough left over to take an adventure.
To take an adventure on your adventure bike.
Right. So horsepower on a Himalayan, is it 27?
It is 27 in brake horsepower, I believe. Yeah, it's a very torquey little motor though, and I'll tell you what, like I said, street manners, it handles very well. It's a balanced motor, so even at 60, 65 miles per hour coming down the street, it's very smooth.
It's the smoothest single I've ever been on, and I've been on quite a few motorcycles. That's the smoothest single. That's saying quite a bit from a company that's, well, it's the oldest company in the world at the moment, but coming back again with a lot of new products.
No doubt, yeah.
It's a very smooth single. It'll handle 80 top speed and still pretty smooth at that point, not shaking you to pieces. So the 27 horsepower is a little bit better than the numbers would suggest, because it's got a nice flat torque curve. It kind of comes up and flattens out as far as the torque pretty
and this is where you'd want it. You're not looking for a high horsepower highway motorcycle. The low end torque is going to get you down the street through the neighborhood, but also through that loose dirt easy, and that's really what you're going to love. That's what you're going to use.
That's what it's designed for.
That's what it's for.
Aftermarket upgrades.
For the Himalayan, Seat Concepts is doing some nice seats as far as that goes. Not that the stock is bad, but of course everybody looks to change out. They're different. They offer 2 seats for the Himalayan, especially for the taller riders. $180 retail money for the taller rider with longer leg, because the Himalayan is not for an adventure bike very tall whatsoever. 32 and a half maybe seat height, 33.
I flat foot.
It's not tall.
I think Twisted Throttle has a lot of stuff coming out for the Himalayan.
Twisted Throttle you'd want to look hard for. Enfield has all the basics covered. They've got the aluminum panniers, they've got the engine guards, it comes with a skid plate.
Anything else you could strap to the frame. It's got all that tubular framing on it.
I would presume they'll come out with different...
You already have a rack, right?
Hand guards or something you could get from Enfield. I would presume different windshields will be coming shortly.
Sure, a touring windshield you could find.
Aftermarket lights are pretty universal, so if you need a little bit more light, we just equipped ours with the Enfield aluminum panniers and an LED light.
Looks great.
That bolts right in. Looks great.
And still, the bike is incredibly inexpensive, so...
It's also got a really big fuel capacity and good fuel economy, so you can go far.
Oh, yeah.
4-gallon tank and 75 miles per gallon is going to get you a long way.
Beyond bladder range.
A long way, yeah, right.
Beyond bladder range. Right. Right. So we're taking deposits on the new Enfields.
The new twins, the folks are starting to call in and get real excited. The folks that have made it out to the motorcycle shows put their hands on the bike and realize that it's more than worth what they're asking, are getting serious about it quick. So,
matter of fact, we got quite a few leads from Cleveland and Chicago, so we're taking deposits on those. People are actually calling in and giving us deposits on the Enfields and the FTRs. We've been taking deposits on, and as far as our initial shipment, we're almost sold out.
Just about.
Although we will be replenished throughout the summer with these. But if you're looking to get on one right away, we've got a couple spots left for one of the first people.
Yeah, that's
to
going to
get
be
an
huge.
FTR if you want it.
At least one S model and one base model still available. So if you're considering it, come see us.
If they don't get in soon, they'll have to be waiting until next year.
Who knows?
Yeah,
who knows what the availability will be.
It's hot.
It's hot. It's been hyped for nearly a year now, and folks are waiting with bated breath.
Speaking of availability, since there are questions about the Himalayan, you guys have those in stock, correct?
We just ordered 4 new 19s.
4 brand new 2019s available.
Just hit the floor. As we sold as my man over here sells the last Himalayan, the truck pulls up with some new ones.
Just in time.
Just in a nick of time. We're out of Himalayans. The truck's pulling up. That was kind of funny.
Classics are always cool. Still got those.
The classics we're still selling, and those are going to be a little bit more scarce. So if you really want something, there aren't a lot floating around in this country, and it's a really cool bike. Great for running around town. Great for going to the motorcycle venues and just parking, and you'll have as many people around your bike as any super high dollar XYZ cruiser.
You guys got a special one in stock too.
A special one in stock?
Yeah, Classic 500.
Well, we got several.
The one with the sidecar.
The sidecar is currently unavailable. It has been sold.
Yeah?
We have
Excellent.
two 2017s, two-tone black and cream paint. If you're interested in one on the cheap, come see us. 4,500. All right, Gary says 4,500.
Slash those 17s.
Even the 2018s, we've got discount on the tags, and we're offering free gear. Get yourself a set of saddlebags. Get a bike cover. Get a textile jacket to go with any one of them.
And financing.
All on the house. Financing is easy. Very easy
on an Enfield. You can get a $100 payment on a Royal Enfield. If you can't.
If you only want to pay on it for 3 years, you can get a $100 payment. Yeah, right.
Right. If you can't scratch up that to ride a brand new bike.
It's a good move up for someone just coming off their MSF course and they want a classic.
You can literally still be inside factory warranty before your bike is paid.
Yeah, they use those in
unusual
MSF courses in certain states, so they're that easy to ride. They have been approved for the Motorcycle Safety Foundation, and they don't approve a whole lot of bikes, especially some of the larger 500cc would be large for that. The larger motorcycles. It's that easy to ride. Great bike. I mean, you're going to get a lot of attention on that bike.
So I got a question for you too. If you had the money, where would you, like in time, obviously, it's both. You never have either, right?
Right.
Where would you go for your dream motorcycle trip this year, if you could?
Honestly, I would take that Himalayan adventure. I think that's fantastic. I had a customer come in and give me a description on the entire thing. And honestly, it's not that expensive, so time is really the issue. But they literally will run you into the Himalayas with chase, with medical, with food, and
oh, you mean actually go overseas and go?
Yeah.
Literally, well, yeah, right.
Yeah,
that would be it.
It's not that much money.
It's not that much money, and you can.
I think it was as
you
cheap
can
as
choose the classic
$1,500 if you wanted to bunk in a tent with a buddy.
If you want to hang out in the tent, no problem at all. A Sherpa's going to run you up the mountain.
A Sherpa,
no problem.
inside joke.
Get your shots. Get over to India. You'll have a blast. That would be mine. I would want to go overseas, no doubt about it. Never been overseas on a motorcycle. Never been out of the country.
Yeah.
Sans Canada. So
yeah, I've been to quite a few places in the United States, and I would love to do it again. Been out west, been out east, been down south. But to run over to Europe or the Himalayas on a Himalayan and do a trip like that, that'd be special.
Europe on a motorcycle would be something to see.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I'm on page with you.
Right? Like Rocky and Mask.
You think we could get 3 weeks off and go to India,
no. Then again,
not unless you sell a lot of bikes.
Of ours, that might work, right?
Yeah, right. So we're gonna wrap it up now.
No other questions for us.
If anybody's got any questions left, certainly hit us with them. Remember, get your bikes checked out while we're still coming into peak season.
Yeah,
we're starting to get busy, and you hate to be behind the 8 ball and have a surprise because you bring your bike in for an oil change only to find out it needs neck bearings and clutch fluids.
That's the biggest thing. Get them in while it's slow.
And,
there's enough lead time to get it fixed before the weather turns nice.
Get your bikes in here while we still got time.
We hate to tell somebody we don't have time immediately to get them in and get them ready for the season,
Yeah,
so
and
don't wait.
Right now we do.
We've
so
got
we can
time.
get you in here and check it out and get the parts ordered that it may need that you didn't expect, and get you back on the road well before the riding season hits.
Perfect.
And you guys have the ability to pick up a bike if someone needs it to get into service, like if it doesn't function, for a nominal fee, right? The free stuff's for when you're talking about new bikes, but
depends on where you're at. If you're relatively close and you're doing a substantial amount of work, we'll pick it up. So call us and we'll get you the details on that.
Yeah, we're not greedy, and we're very helpful on that stuff. We've got more than one enclosed trailer and plenty of trucks. We come get you, pick you up if need be.
Main thing is to get the bike on the road.
We want to get you on the road, absolutely.
So everybody, we're going to wrap up our live stream. Remember, everybody, what are you going to do?
Ride
safe.